I've done over 1,000 sales calls the last 4 years, and most business owners that I talk to have no idea how to actually acquire customers with advertising. So here's the thing that happens. Most business owners have this false belief, this false narrative. Advertising doesn't work, or advertising doesn't work for my business. And here's where that is a problem. Because if you don't know how to advertise to get customers, you are now on what is called the referral roller coaster. And the referral roller coaster looks like this. This week you get 10 new jobs. Next week you get 2. The week after that you get 20. The week after that you get 5. And it's up and down and it's up and down and it's unpredictable. And you have absolutely zero control over what happens. So if you've tried hiring agencies in the past, if you've gone out and run Google ads, you've run YouTube ads, you've run Facebook ads, you've done all this stuff and nothing seems to work, it's probably a you problem. And I'm going to tell you why, and I will tell you how to fix it. So there is a legend in marketing. You've probably heard this phrase before, a guy named Dan Kennedy who said, whoever can spend the most to acquire a customer wins. So when you hear that on the surface, you're just thinking, okay, so I got to spend a lot of money to get customers. But that is not the whole story. That is not the whole picture. There is another side to the picture that you need to see. So what do I mean by that? So what smart business owners do is they say, what do I have to do in order to make advertising work for my business? So let me give you an example of that. Let's say that you have some type of medical weight loss program, and let's say you charge $3,700 for this program, right? Let's assume that it's going to cost you $1,000 to acquire a customer. What dumb business owners do is they go out and they say, shoot, it's going to cost me $2,000 to provide this program for them. And then I'm going to have to spend $1,000 to get a customer. I'm only going to be left with $700. That just doesn't even make sense for me. That is what dumb business owners do. They look at the numbers and they just say, I can't do this. But you're not a dumb business owner. You're a smart business owner. And smart business owners ask, if the customer acquisition cost is $1,000, then what do I need to do in order to make sure that this is profitable for me? And so what that looks like is you might have to say, all right, I'm going to increase the price of my program, or I'm going to add these upsells or these cross sells or these additional products or services that I can offer to people in order to make sure that I'm making as much revenue and profit as possible. Because here's the thing. Customer acquisition is the most expensive part of your business. You will spend more to acquire a customer than anything else, but that's okay if you know how to maximize the lifetime value of that customer. And so one of the things that you want to do, if you want to understand what your lifetime value of a customer is, just divide the total number of customers that you had over the last year by the total amount of revenue. And you'll be able, flip that over, take the total amount of revenue divided by the total number of customers you had last year, and that'll tell you what your annual revenue per customer is. And then from there, you can then look at that versus what your cost to acquire a customer is. And now you can create math that works for your business and that will actually help you grow. So what does this actually look like? The first thing you want to do, you can go over to AI and you can do some research around what typical customer acquisition looks like in your niche and in your location or geography if you're a local business. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to give you a good idea. And it'll typically say, let's say, for example, you're a lawn care service. Maybe your acquisition cost is $500 to $1,000. And let's say you're a maintenance company, so your service is only $200 a month. Then what you have to say is, if we go out and spend $500 to $1,000 and we only make 200 back, then I'm going to have to wait a minimum of 3 months or maybe even 5 months to recoup that. That doesn't work for me. But the cost of acquisition is the cost of acquisition. So what can I do? Maybe I charge some type of setup fee, or maybe there's some type of upsell that I can do on the first month, and I sell people a $500 or $1,000 package, and then I bring them into the maintenance program as the long-term reoccurring revenue model. And so what you want to do is start getting creative in how you maximize the value per customer. Because if you don't ever do this, you're always going to be stuck in that battle of uncontrolled referral roller coaster. And that battle is always going to be a losing one. Why? Because it's out of your control. And so now that you sit down and you look, okay, what is the customer acquisition cost? You then compare it to what you're charging for your service and what your profit margins are. Because I understand not every dollar you make is actually profit, right? You have costs, you have hard costs, you have fixed costs, you have costs that are variable. And so with all those things, you want to sit down and say, all right, this is my customer acquisition cost, and this is how much I'm going to make, and this is going to be my net profit. And then you say, what can I do to make sure that I can absolutely afford this customer acquisition cost? And as you start thinking through ideas, think about it in three different ways. What can you do initially to maximize that first purchase? Get as much revenue as possible for the people that need the services that you offer. Number two, what can I do over time? What can I do to continue to offer people additional services or get them to come back or get them to refer? And then number three, how can I increase the frequency of their purchases? What can I do? Let's say you have some type of spa or something like that, and people typically come in once a month or once every couple of weeks. Now you say, all right, what can I do to get people to come in once every week? What can I do to increase the frequency of the time that people come in and spend at my business or spend buying my services? So those are all the things that you can do to actually control the back end. And what you really want to do is have this laid out, mapped out, and clearly defined. So that way, when you do go start advertising, and you obviously advertising isn't magic. You have to have the right message, you have to have the right market, and you have to have the right offer and the right system. But when you start advertising, you can be calm and you can be chill, because I can spend X to acquire a customer because I'm going to generate Y on the back end. And that is a lot of peace and comfort as a business owner when you have that type of clarity. Now, if you want help putting this together because you're not a math person, or just because you don't really go into that realm of thinking, then we would be happy to help you out. All you got to do, click the button down below, schedule a call on my calendar, and I'll sit down with you and we'll map out what you can spend to acquire a customer, what your lifetime value of a customer is going to be, how to make sure you're at least break even in the first 30 days, and a plan for what you can do to make that all become a reality. So my name is AJ from Fit Your Marketing, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.